Good morning, Southwest Florida, and welcome to the American Tradesman Show. With my guest, my main man, Gerald, good morning, from B&K Water Extraction and Mold Services.
That's it. Good
Amen,
morning.
amen. Good morning. BP, good morning, my main man. Brian Prevette from Prevette Plumbing. Don't fret.
Call Prevette.
Call Prevette. Good morning, Brian. How are you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. And the most important person, I think, fellas, is becoming on the radio show is an attraction here. He's getting attraction from around the world, and that's my main man, Juan Silva from American Electrical. Good morning, Juan.
Good morning.
You're becoming a movie star, I'm hearing, Juan.
Nah.
A famous movie star?
Well, I hope it's some of the people haven't seen my movies.
Well, I'm hoping to God that they don't change your name to Juan Carlito or Juan Pablo. Is it Juan Pablo?
It can go over to Don Juan.
Don Juan. Well, good morning, Southwest Florida. We're here to talk about construction. So, Brian, this is what we do on a daily basis, or it's really kind of on a, weekly basis, right? So, a lot of this has got to do with, where we're at, and aside in the construction side. This is what we do.
Basically, live and breathe it now. It's just a day in, day out, normal
daily basis.
Yeah.
Gerald, you guys, I gotta say, you guys are busy pretty much right now too, right?
All over.
Brian, Brian, I can't even get you to come over my house.
I know. All aspects.
When can I get you over?
I think they've got you scheduled for, what's this, 2020?
2025?
Nah, they got me lined up
That's
for
a
next
subliminal message, Juan. Let's stay with that. That's Trump 2020, right?
Well, we can't push it to 2025.
No,
2020.
2020, we'll stay with that. Well, today we're here to talk a little bit about the coronavirus. We've been kind of dealing with it a little bit for probably about the past 8 weeks, right, Gerald? Mm-hmm. Mold and a lot of parts of this is that virus that's causing some issues. I want everybody out there to stay safe. We are staying safe in the companies that we are running over at American Electrical. We are hand sanitizer, right?
Hand sanitizer, booties, face masks.
Gloves, you name it.
Yeah, you step out the van looking like a bio response group.
Brian had actually one of those gloves before, didn't you have, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
You got those gloves made?
Yeah.
What kind of gloves are those? Are those latex?
Well, you can get them latex, lambskin. Depends on if you're allergic to latex.
Lambskin?
Yeah, they got several different kinds.
Oh, I'll have
Flavors?
to check those out.
With
Colors?
powder, without powder.
Well, I want to get away from the powder, but on the side of this, that coronavirus is something to still concern yourself. It has touched base, personally, to say that, right, Juan?
Yeah.
I hate to say in the sense of all of it, but has had touched home base for a few people in the last few weeks on our side, and actually for Juan Silva's family himself.
Yeah, just be safe out there, guys. From what I'm being told, out in Immokalee, it's a hot spot. So you just got to, play it safe, wear your masks, be careful, who you're around, who you surround yourself with, and keep that 10-person and under rule going on.
Yeah, I know, not to say it, but from a personal standpoint, it's a hard part to deal with.
Yeah.
But the prayers go out to your family and everybody around you.
Thank you.
I can only say that a lot of things can transpire from this from a personal standpoint for all of us. So, Godspeed and prayers for all your family on this. It is a sad situation now to deal with that, but sometimes this gets to the home base very quickly, right?
Yeah, well, it's just we hear the stories and we do what we can, and I think it's just a whole different scenario when it's when it hits close to home, and you think, okay, well, what now? What do I do? And then you have to. You can't visit them at the hospital. It's only through conversations over the phone and text messages, and it's just it sucks.
Well, like I said, the coronavirus is something that you all have to be aware of out there. We are here at American Contracting and Electrical, Prevette Plumbing, and B&K. We're all aware of what we have to do as business owners to show up at your homes and to be, protected. And the more importantly thing is that when it does hit home base, is that you really start to recognize some of this that happens to us. You don't know how to answer it. So again, Juan, I can only say my hat's off to your family and prayers. God's going to take care of them. I'm sure of that.
Yep.
So Gerald, I wanted to kind of move away from the coronavirus. We all know where we're at today, and we understand it. I want to move into the plumbing section or the mold remediation section to talk a little bit about this morning. I mean, what you got going on?
Yeah, so I'm going to touch base first on the mold remediation section of it. Water is a big deal here in Florida. I get called out to a lot of different jobs to look at for that. Sometimes I win some, sometimes I don't. You, as the homeowner, need to do your homework and ensure that you are having a contractor who is properly doing their job. I got told that, they had a plumbing leak repaired twice. Remediator came in on the first floor, didn't remediate the second floor where the leak originated. So every bit of the initial issue and where it originated from never even got touched. Drywall never removed. Nothing ever done there. Now, of course, it did leak down in the second floor, caused water damage there, but I mean, that's a poor job of a remediation. And then I go to some and they say, well, they just pulled the drywall out. And, and I had one of the guys said he pulled out the drywall on the ceiling. He says, I don't know if they sprayed anything or not. He said, but I don't think they did. Removing drywall is not going to take care of the issue. If you have any kind of mold situation, you got to have more than just drywall pulled. I mean, this was a ceiling with wood framing up there. So, I mean, you're talking about something that's going to have to be sanded, sprayed with antimicrobial. It's going to have to be encapsulated. And that's the key to any kind of wood building material is encapsulation, because if it does not get encapsulated, there is such a high probability of it coming back and returning, and you don't know it because it's going to be hidden above drywall. And the only time you're going to know it's when it spreads so rampant and it's made it through that half-inch piece of drywall and that paint. And then when that happens, you're going to have a larger scenario then. Carpet and carpet padding. If you have a leak that happens on carpet, I mean, chances are you're not going to be able to just bring Stanley Steamer in there to clean the carpet. The carpet padding is saturated, and there's not enough pull on that machine to pull out all that water from that padding. So what you have there is padding that's going to remain wet, and it's going to spawn microbials. You also have wood carpet tack, and once that gets wet, it's just like any other wood. It has to be removed because it's going to grow microbial as well. I had a guy told me, he says, well, they brought in a carpet cleaning company and they pulled up the water. It didn't pull it off that wood. I grant you, you're not going to be able to dry the wood out well enough. Same thing with your carpet padding. You may get the carpet dried, but that carpet padding will stay wet and wet long enough to create a microbial. And especially between the carpet padding and the concrete, that's your biggest area there, because the concrete's going to hold water, and there's no way you're going to get all that water from that surface of that concrete.
So what is the time frame? So, so let's say someone does spring a leak or whatever the case may be. What is the time frame that microbials will grow?
It's going to depend on the indoor air. So there's several factors there: your temperature, your humidity rate. There's so many factors that are going to play into that. The material that got wet. But I mean, you're talking about, the spawn of microbia within a matter of 4 days.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah.
One of the things that you're talking about, I mean, from a standpoint when you said the tack strip on the carpet, one of the things I want people to understand, if you have a second floor, third floor, sometimes the flooring is wood, not concrete.
Yeah, the subflooring can be wood. So, I mean, these are all things that have to be treated and dealt with, because if you have a wood subflooring on the second floor, you got to pull that out. That's not going to be salvageable, period. There's no way to salvage that and not end up with wood that's going to be soft, over time. Even if you try to salvage it, they say, hey, we got to dry it out. That wood is going to soften at a substantial rate, and that's your second floor. So you definitely don't want the pressure of all that weight and everything bearing down on that soft wood on the second floor, because you're going to end up with a bad situation quick.
Yeah, and not to say it, if the wood gets wet on the flooring, the only thing between that other side of the floor is floor trusses, right? So you're on top of floor trusses, and if you start to rot wood, I mean, on the subfloor, and then to the wood trusses, you could have a bigger problem.
We
personally.
just went to a large job up off Mockley Road where they had concrete floors, really, really nice home. They had 3/4 inch plywood glued down in the master
floor.
suite for the subfloor
Yeah.
because it had stone in there.
Right.
And that was just caked
Rotted.
with, mold, everything.
Yeah,
All that's
I
going to
can
have
say
to
a
come
lot
out.
of times you glue plywood or something that's a subfloor so that you can flatten the floor
Right.
out.
The
And then you
carpet
put
too.
stone. So, I mean, nowadays, I will say as the contractor myself, I would use Durock instead of the wood as a subfloor because I get a better look out of it when I use that subfloor as Durock rather than plywood. Because plywood, I know, one way or the other, somewhere along the line, wood will go right straight to that.
Yeah, and in reference to what Brian was saying in that, I mean, you have people to say in that same scenario we went to, well, it didn't look like it got to the bathroom. The leak originated from a piping in the bathroom, and even though you only see the damage, that happens in the room that was adjacent, which got severely damaged due to the water, you could easily stick a moisture meter and tell the amount of moisture in that wall inside the bathroom. And people hate to hear that the vanity's probably going to have to be pulled, the toilet's going to have to be pulled. Those are things you don't want to hear, but those are necessary. He was able to touch the wall, and it just the drywall was so wet it crumbles.
That bad thing about that scenario we're talking about, that water was leaked from the bottom of the toilet when it flushes. So it's carrying
So it's going
all the-
underneath, yeah.
right.
You know what
And
makes me
that's
think about
because that subfloor. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. What makes me think about this is that you see it all the time in the commercials. Is people laying down DIY, LVP, the luxury vinyl planks, and I mean, if you're trapping water underneath and it's not really properly installed, you're
gonna have a mess.
you're asking for it.
Yeah, the plywood. I mean, I listening to the subfloor, if it started at the toilet, I'm sure they cut around the toilet, right, to put the stone on. So there's no way that was bound to have a fault one way or the other.
Yeah,
That
I mean, it was
plywood
just-
would have rotted.
The water
right
was
around
just
it.
traveling from that toilet. I mean, it just spread everywhere up underneath it. No, you can't see it in the floor, the building materials, in the walls, and the fact that he had carpet. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
really showed him was the wet stains on the carpet. But if it made it from that point all the way up to the carpet, you have severe moisture issues.
Yeah, it showed it in the bedroom where the carpet was. The other two side entry points were the 1.5 inch mortar mixture underneath with the stone sitting on top.
Just rotted it through. Yeah, that's the other thing about putting stone out there. Nowadays, we've learned that putting Durock on top of it, subflooring instead of plywood, you're never going to have that soft spots eventually because they rot out in some cases. I've seen it. So, if the audience is listening out there, I mean, from Gerald's standpoint and Brian's standpoint, one of the things I know from toilets is wax rings go bad, right? And the reality is that I'm not saying the wax ring went bad in that case, but if a wax ring does go bad, that means that the seal around the toilet is going to create, some kind of backflush to come out for, number one and number two, right, Joe?
Yeah, and I mean, with a wax ring for the price of pulling a toilet, resetting it, I mean, honestly, every 2 to 4 years, you should look to have that done because the money it could save on a damage claim is
Thousands.
substantial. I mean, if your claim is a certain amount and you have to hit that deductibles can be 10 to 12 times more than what the actual call would have been just to have it replaced. And it's simple.
That's crazy money just to spell it. I mean, not to say it. You spend a couple $100 to put a wax ring in versus a couple grand to even get a. I guess it would be your. Is that your deposit or something on something that's probably $10,000 worth of damage? I mean, I ain't never seen nothing small.
It's
not
not.
come out of insurance companies. I mean, it's going to be a $10,000.
If it's going to
Yeah.
require an insurance claim, I mean, it's going to be substantial.
Somewhere
damage.
along the line, you get $10,000 no matter
Yeah.
what. And a lot of times, you got a little bit of a. You're going to have to pay some kind of deductible back on it too, right?
That's right.
So, if the audience is listening, from Gerald over at B&K and Brian Prevette from Prevette Plumbing, don't fret. Call Prevette. Let them come over there and get you, a new wax ring because I got to tell you, that is about the easiest and simplest thing to do. I don't think it takes more than an hour. And the reality is that you're saving the longevity of most likely any kind of seepage from the toilet to underneath the tile because a lot of times we see that the tile has grooves in it when they put the mortar down. If it gets underneath the tile, the next thing you know, you're getting that number 1 and 2 to go wherever it wants to, right, Gerald?
That's it.
And that right there, if you're not knowing what I'm talking about, that is a raw sewage smell that you could probably smell in the bathroom a lot of times.
And depending on where they went with the lines in that, I mean,
Right.
if you have tile that runs throughout from the bathroom into the hallway, if those lines run in a direction like that, it can travel in that all the way out there. It just depends on how that grout is laid with that trowel.
How long somebody's touched the toilet? I mean, some people's toilets haven't been touched in years.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could pretty much say, Gerald. I mean, if your toilet seat's wobbling, you're gonna have to replace that ring,
Brian.
It's not just tightening it down. Basically.
Yeah, if there's one person sitting on that toilet and it's wobbling, you definitely
What about 2?
possibly a flange.
What about 2?
Might need to evaluate that.
Well, that's a lot of things too. Is that probably the flange is broken? That causes that wobbling.
Or the 2 people on the toilet.
And a broken flange will also leak.
Probably
So I
the
mean
toilet
that's
seat's broke by
key
then,
to itself. Sometimes you can get a crack that runs around the what they call the horn of the flange, where it goes and basically bottlenecks down into the pipe. If you get a crack in that, it'll leak out as well. And I've seen that happen so many times. And if you have somebody who comes in, or you decide you want to go change out your supply lines for your toilet or your faucet because you feel that's something you can do on your own, do not purchase poly lines. They sell them everywhere. And if you do decide to purchase a line, or you have another plumbing company come in to do that, make sure they're braided stainless steel lines and that the fitting connectors are metal. I see this so many times. We've been to one where the toilet lines had a plastic threaded fitting connector that fit onto the toilet. And what happened is there is an actual seam where the 2 pieces come together, and that seam had broke apart. So there was actually a threaded piece still on the toilet, and then you have the supply line, which is now wide open with water spraying, flooding the whole house. And it did. It went the whole house and flooded it. I mean, and that's a substantial amount of damage for a $12 part.
Wow.
And that comes down to making sure if you decide that you're going to go to the big box store or you're going to have a plumbing company come in, those supply lines for toilets, faucets, whatever, should be all metal. So they should have the stainless steel braided body. They should have a metal fitting on either end. If they do not, I would not want to accept them because they are a big liability.
A lot of times, I mean, we talk about on the radio show maintenance of your home. We talk about braided lines all the time, right, Brian? I mean, people don't recognize washers and dryer hoses. Washer machine hoses itself are rubber hoses, right? A lot of them plastic ones, they now come from the factory with the washer machine with plastic, I think, right? Or almost like a dishwasher hose. That's what I felt like. But we're not talking about what the factory supplies based on what they think is probably going to be the cheapest method to hooking up a washing machine. We're talking about braided supply lines that are going to be changed out. And this is something that's important for people to understand. Hot water hoses on a washing machine bust, all the time. And if a hose busts on a washing machine, cold or hot, and you don't know about it, right, Brian? It'll flood. And this is not like a water heater. You end up with 2 hoses breaking, you're going to have a huge amount of water, in their home.
Even if you end up with 1 hose breaking, that's like taking your water hose, dragging it in your house, and turning it on full blast and just letting it sit there and pour.
And I can tell you that is a part that people don't understand about washing machines and even toilets. The supply lines all go bad on them. And, we're talking about wax rings, which is a cheap piece of part, right?
Big.
Supply line, wax rings, braided, lines is all very inexpensive for a home to be protected without having breaking lines. And CPVC is another situation. As you see you don't have any braided lines, you just have that hose coming out connected to a CPVC. I myself have had the cleaning lady break the hose because of that. And, what are you going to do? There's not much you can do with it. So, this is where the PEX comes in and the right kind of, piping, right? And the fittings that go onto those, hoses and the braided supply lines. This is a very easy fit. If you had 2-3 bathrooms, change them out. If you had 2-3 bathrooms with wax rings, change them out. If you had what hoses in your washing machine, change them out. It's very easy for them to come in probably within 2-3 hours to change all those out, right?
That's it.
Yeah, and you got to think about it like with the toilets with the wax ring. Sometimes your wax ring could be bad, and the water may not be leaking out because the path of the water traveling
Right,
out.
just flows down into it.
However, the wax ring could be compromised, and what that will allow roaches, anything that's inside the sewer system, which
come
there's
out.
some pretty nasty stuff, it allows them a pathway into your house. So, if you start getting a lot of little roaches, even some larger roaches, and you can't figure out where they're coming in at,
Toilet.
it's very possible because a lot of times when we remove a toilet, not only do they run out of the pipe, but they're also up underneath the toilet, living inside that hollow cavity.
So what would maintenance look like? Would it be like braided line, wax ring, and flapper or something like that? I mean,
Yeah.
Well, we do what is called a full toilet rebuild. And what we do is we'll pull the toilet, inspect the flange to see if that needs replacing, do the wax ring, the new Johnny bolts, reset the toilet, and then we'll change out the tank to bowl gasket, your flush valve, your fuel valve, and your flapper. This is a complete toilet rebuild, and you get a new braided supply line, and we can do those.
And usually we'll check the condition of the handle because sometimes they rust inside the tank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they're
handle and
constantly
the chain
exposed
is
to
always a
water, and
problem.
it's a lot of times, especially in the city of Naples, it's a high chlorine water, so it just sits in there and it gets exposed.
And we
to
usually
that.
tighten down the toilet seat a little if it moves, because everyone usually has
Everybody
that seat that moves a
their-
little.
And
Yeah.
depending on
especially if there's two people
the
on
flooring
top.
you have, if you have a hard surface flooring, of course, we're going to grout that toilet, and that's key to setting a good base to your toilet.
I hate to hit you on the head, but grouting the toilet is the most important part of all of it.
Unless
right?
you have a vinyl floor, a linoleum, or some form of wood that we have no choice but to caulk it, we are going to grout that toilet because grouting the bottom side of a toilet is going to ensure that it does not rock. If
And we
do-
shim it if it needs it.
Yeah, even if we do have to put caulk around the toilet, we're going to make sure it is sitting on shims so it does not rock.
You know what they say. If
Toilet's
it's a
rocking,
rocking,
don't come and knock.
No,
Turn on the fart fan.
no, if that toilet's a rocking, you better call Prevent.
don't fret.
Call
Call
Prevent.
Prevent. Don't. If it's a rocking, call Prevent. What's that phone number, Gerald?
239-596-5533.
Brian, what's that phone number again?
239-596-5533.
You got to love us out here. The audience has to love us. I mean, they love Juan at least. That's the most important
There
thing.
we
go. Juan's got a fan base already. I mean, he's got the people, his neighbors. He's got car dealerships. He's even got a mechanic now that knows
Yep.
him. He's pretty well set over there in Lehigh Acres for good. So that's a good thing.
my people in Lehigh.
The people in Lehigh. Well, listen, I want to continue a little bit on the maintenance side of it, but the last few weeks we've been talking about roughing and trimming electrical, right,
Yep,
Juan,
yep.
and plumbing. I wanted to kind of touch base on a few things that we've been talking about for the last 3-4 weeks is the most important thing was that lockout kit, right, Juan?
Yes.
So the lockout kit has become a very number one hit, right?
Yeah, right now it's the time, people, is to get on board. Let's get the lockout kit ordered for you and installed. I've been swamped right now with these installs, and
We're not swamped. Let me rephrase that. We are not, ladies and gentlemen, we are not. Again, let me rephrase that one more time. Not. Alex, I'd go to your house 3 more times if I had to, Alex. We are not swamped. We could take anything on, Juan.
We'll take it all on.
All right,
I'm not.
there we
I'm
go.
not. So
Yeah,
We
we're
still
never
got
swamped.
Sunday.
Yeah. You got Sunday at midnight. Come on, fellas.
well, I'll take swamp and I'll get bombarded.
All right.
So yeah, they're coming in. They're coming in hot. So let's give me a call. We can get them installed. We get a guy out there. We see what we need, and we'll take care of you. If you're not sure about a generator, we will guide you the right way. We will get one ordered for you. We will get it there. We will assemble it, fill it up with oil, start it, show you what needs to be done and how to do it, just in the case of emergency.
So before this is already recorded, I was not aware that there was tax breaks given out on the hurricane supplies this past week.
That was a new one for me too.
I had heard it from a customer, and I'm not sure if we could backdate it, but I will say if you're listening to this radio show today, and this morning, and you are purchasing a generator or are about to purchase a generator, it is very possible that you can give us a call over at American Electrical, right, Juan?
Yes.
We can backdate it if we had to make sure that you get in there, because right now they are running specials on sales tax for hurricane season. And I'm not sure about the Thursday date, but this is what I'm hearing. But if you are listening on the radio show, hurricane season is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. One of the things I want you guys to be aware of, if you lose your power, it is not going to be a good thing for coronavirus. I will tell you that right now. It will probably put all of you in a heart lurk. It is not a good scene if you're going to have to go without power. And one of the most important things I want people to listen to me on is to think about some kind of security, to making sure you definitely got batteries, candles, water. Start to stock up now, not 10 minutes before the storm comes in. And please, please don't take the toilet paper, all right? Please don't take it. But listen, there is a generator that we are now installing out there that is liquid cooled. It's a propane fire instead of gasoline, correct, Juan?
Yeah, it'll be a propane fueled portable generator. So we like going this route. The reason being is, who wants to stay in line and fight for 3 gallons or 5 gallons of gas?
It's limited too.
It's limited. So you can be the person who drives up to that gas station, passes the line, and goes directly to the front of the store and hand over your small propane tank.
You have to get in line, Juan. Don't.
Well, no, get in line in front of the 2-3 people in front of you, and then you hand over your tank, you exchange it, and you get a new one, and you're out the door. It's the smarter way. It's you can store these tanks. They don't expire. You'll be good for the following year if you don't use it. It's the way to go versus gas.
And you can fill it up anywhere. Anywhere could get 5-gallon
Yep.
tanks. Not to say it, but you just said something about longevity. The shelf life on propane is 100 years. It ain't like you buy a 5-gallon can and you keep it on the side for the generator and you go to pour it in because it was from last year's gas and there's no stabilizer in it. So what's the first thing it does? It looks like it clumps out the strainer.
Yeah, we just used some that was like 99 years old. Worked fine.
Yeah.
Got it when I was a kid.
Brian, did it come in a cardboard box? Was it a wood box?
Like the old milk bottles.
Milk bottles. Did it have a top on it? But the shelf life. It's early in the morning, ladies and gentlemen, so you're just knowing that we're really kind of punch drunk in the mornings, right, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
This is why we get along so well. But it is an important thing to understand that 5-gallon tank, it does have a shelf life of at least 20 years, okay? So there's no issues that you would have if you stored up 5 or 6 cans.
Who? Let's be honest here. We've all had gas in our garages. You walk out into your garage of being hot, and
Thank
all
you
you
for
do is smell
clarifying.
gas. You smell gas fumes. If you leave your garage door open, it so happens to be on the edge of your garage, and the sun hits it, now you have a swollen gas tank. I just don't care for storing the gas in the garage. Go propane. Propane's the way to go.
Yeah, and like I said, in the times of the last Hurricane Irma in 2017, I myself was driving to, Punta Gorda to the Speedway or I can't even remember, the Loves that was up off the exit to get gas. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget having to wait off a freeway to get off the off-ramp to get to the gas station. It took us an hour and a half to get gas. And all I was getting the gas was for a small portable generator to keep an office cool. And if I would have known now, what I could have thought about is I could have tapped off of my barbecue line to get my propane tank. And a lot of it is really kind of, nowadays people are going to, get in a position where the 5-gallon propane tanks are probably going to be a lot more easy to get.
Yeah.
First off, you're using it for your barbecue.
Yep.
Second of all, you're going to be using it for this generator. And this generator is cold dual, right? It's a dual gasoline.
Dual fuel.
So it's dual fuel. It's a no-brainer, right?
It's a no-brainer. If you just so happen to have gas laying around, you can start off with your gas, then jump into propane, and just go back and forth.
Yeah. If you have a bunch of propane tanks around, do you need to ground them or anything, or is it?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, not to say it, but it's a portable issue. So the tires are plastic on the generators. It's something that's protected from a surge from it. I mean it's 4 wires. We're running into the house, not 3 wires. So yes, it's a logical question. You don't want to run around with a gas can with a lightning bolt coming down. But I can tell you that the Generac 10.5, is that what it is?
No, the what we're going to be doing is the Duramax.
Duramax 10.5. It's
Dual fuel.
dual fuel. We will also, for a little bit more extra charge, put it inside of a plastic garage, so it is secure from the outside, and we can lock it from the outside, right?
Yeah, so if you're thinking of something that you want to get a little bit more discreet, instead of just having a generator sitting out there, we can install an enclosure for it, put an anchor down, and chain it up for you, and it'll be protected from the elements as well.
Yeah, I'm the guy that's going to tell you that a lot of people are not going to be able to afford, hypothetically, $10,000, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, but if you bought a $2,000 120-gallon burp tank, right, propane tank, that's probably going to be about $600-700. Then you buy the generator that's going to be probably somewhere around $3,000-4,000-5,000. But by that time, that's $8,000. You got to fill up the tanks. You got to get the gas company to come out and do the same thing. You have to pull a permit, no matter what you're doing. If we're looking at something that's going to keep somebody out in Golden Gate Estates, Lehigh Acres, Cape Coral, North Fort Myers, any of those areas where there's well equipment and you don't have water and you don't have sewer, right, fellas? Mm-hmm. There's a problem in your sense of life right there. Don't hesitate to buy this lockout kit. Don't hesitate to get a generator when it's time to get into a position of needing water and sewer, right?
Yep.
I am the person that has done that myself a couple times and realized that it was crazy, and then did what I had to do to get to a generator.
Are you saying you don't want to throw a bucket of water out during the hurricane? Out the window?
I actually didn't want to throw out 2 buckets of water. I was afraid the toilet wasn't going to flush if I did that.
Now, with this generator in this enclosure, can you run it or?
Yeah, we can run it. And, you can run a generator in an enclosure. The only thing, and going back to the propane basics of it, anyone who's ever run small engines, lawnmowers, 2-cycle engines, 4-cycle engines, so on and so forth, and you store them, what's the first thing that gets damaged is hose lines. The carburetors, they get gunked up with the fuel trapped in them. That's always your worst enemy. Second is actually the what is that? What do they add into the fuel now?
Ethanol.
Ethanol is what's eating up all your rubber hoses. When you run a propane generator, that solves all of those problems.
It's the cleanest way to
cleanest way. You don't have to worry about running your fuel out. When you're done with your generator, you shut your gas tank off, and it uses any little bit of fuel in that line, as in the propane, and you're done. You don't have to worry about draining the gas lines, making sure your carburetor's clean. It's done. You store it, and you're good to go.
You guys got maintenance programs where you come out like a couple times a year just to...
We can do that for you. We can come out and we can do do some maintenance on your portables. We do maintenance on the standbys that are actually stationed at whole homes.
I keep hounding on the lockout kits. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say this again. If you have a opportunity to get a generator, if not, one of the things that we do have the opportunity to do is finance the generator through Generac or a couple other areas. If you have limited funds to get in this generator, don't hesitate to give us a call, Juan. One of the things that we talked about before is that a lot of these people don't have the funds to, facilitate some of the things they need to do around the home, right? Not to say it, but we're all working people. We've all been in positions before where, we go to do something and, just a little bit locked up. An AC unit, you're spending $5-6 on a brand new unit.
Easily.
And not to say it, but a generator, in our cases, if you were buying a big standalone generator, we can finance it. But in the same breath, if we had a portable generator, you're talking about going from maybe $10,000, $12,000 to probably somewhere around $2,000, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot less. You could do the generator a lot less, smaller generator. You don't need the garage. You don't need, automatic standby, but you could, eventually, think about electric start. But again, some of the things that this generator is going to have on it are the things that you don't want the convenience of having, but you're manually going to have to go out and deal with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just part of what you want. But I will say this again: get the conversion kit from the fuel side, but with being propane. Give us a call over at American Electrical. Juan, what's that phone number?
Yeah, give us a call at 239-353-4389. Again, it's 239-353-4389. And as Anthony was saying, we can get this all set up for you. And then, once hurricane season passes and you want somebody to handle this for you, we can dispatch a tech back out, take the generator, do all the disconnections and store it for you. Or, we can come back out and put it in place for you and get everything prepared when season comes around. So we can do both. So, just to make sure that you're taken care of at the end of the day.
One of the things that's funny is that I've been over homes many times, Brian, and a guy would say to me, "Well, I got the generator," and then I look over and it's a big old box, right? And it's not unpacked; it's just a big old box. And then you look over, and I said, "Have you put it together?" And he said, "No, I haven't even taken it out of the box, didn't start it." And you look at them and think that they're going to be able to just do it themselves, and know that that's not going to happen. So if you are one of those people that just has that generator still in a box and has not prepared yourself for the hurricane season, one of the things I will soundly say is to buy this lockout kit. This lockout kit's going to be better off for you to manage the whole house versus somebody that sells you a transfer switch for 6-7 circuits.
Yeah.
Brian, you got one, right? So, I mean, I will tell you that it's an important thing for everybody to get on the board right now. It's time to get it because these lockout kits, Juan, you can say it takes us a few days to get it. We do have some in stock. We do some on shelf, some on the truck. But if you cannot give us a call soon enough, they are going to go fast.
Yes, they are.
And it's a part of you that I'm asking the audience out there, take heed on, hurricane season. It has been extremely hot. It's been raining extremely times, and I got to say it again. Be prepared for hurricane season to be as rough as it's ever been. Just in the sense of it.
It's just if at this point, we are encouraging everyone just to be prepared for the hurricane season at the end of the day. And if that takes just getting the kit installed and generator being later, you can do that too. Just to make this very clear, I can get a technician to go out there. We'll get the breaker, the interlock kit, the inlet, everything ready. So when a day comes and you're like, okay, I do need to get a generator, you're going to be prepared electrically for that, and it's just a plug and play with your generator after that. And if you still need us, we'll come back out.
Again, I reiterate about all this. That lockout kit is probably the best thing that anybody's invented. It's a safe UL listed piece of equipment. It locks out the main breaker, right,
Yes.
Juan? What else does it do?
So in essence, what the lockout kit does is it's a safety precaution for our linemen out there in the field who, at the end of the day, want to restore power. So when the line is down, and if you leave your main breaker on and you power up your home, chances are that you're going to be backfeeding, sending power through your electrical panel, up your main breaker, out the power lines to the poles, and down the line to where the lineman is at trying to make repairs. And that's a very, very hazardous thing to do. So what the lockout kit does, it prevents you from doing that. It makes you shut down your main breaker that prevents any power going outward and keeps all the power just coming inward in your home.
So basically, in the sense of it, it does not allow any power coming out to FP&L without this main breaker being shut off, correct?
Exactly.
And if the main breaker is off, the main breaker to the panel is on, it will not allow power to go back out through to the panel without vice versa, turning breaker on and breaker off.
Yep, exactly. So main breaker will be off, generator breaker will be on. Generator breaker off, main breaker on.
We talk about this constantly through the year, and I will state it again. Plugging in, Brian, to your water heater is not the easiest and smartest way to do it.
Or your dryer.
Or your dryer, right?
Or your AC.
Or your water equipment, or your whatever else is 240. Please do not, and I say this again, do not plug into the water heaters and things like that and think that is the safest way. And do not think that maybe because turning off the power at the main breaker is off, I will tell you people come in and turn it back on, not even knowing we think about it.
I'll tell you this from experience. If you have an emergency situation like you procrastinated to not get the lockout kit put in and the hurricane hits, I would still call these guys because they could probably come out and figure something out for you. But, yeah, I tried it with just 3 wires, where you strip them. And I was somewhat succesul.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian did confess on all the show. If you're out there in radio land, listen to Gerald. Gerald, your brother did use the 3-wire system.
That was in 2005 with Charlie.
Well, that is not the right way to do it. It is best to have 4 wires, right, Juan? Yes.
And if any of the rest of you want to confess, call Juan, confess to him, and let him know that you need that lockout kit so you won't do it again.
Or if you see him in public, stop him and talk to him. He's a good guy. He'll talk to anybody.
Juan, your neighbors are loving you. Everybody's loving you. We're loving you. That's a good thing. It's good to know the main people that are, really kind of out there hustling for you guys. And, from Prevent Plumbing to B&K Services, to American Electrical to American Contracting Services, it is important to understand that we are small subcontractors here in Southwest Florida that go from Punta Gorda to Port Charlotte to Marco Island to Everglades City, right?
Yep.
And a lot of these things are based around what we're talking to you guys about is importance. A wax ring, a simple wax ring that we just brought up in the last few minutes is actually the most important thing probably you could have, right?
Yeah, and don't get scared, guys. He didn't say wedding ring. He said wax ring.
If you're looking for a wedding ring, call Gerald.
That's 1-800-GERALD. Gerald 1-800. Well, listen, we kind of talked back and forth about, the generators, and we're probably going to harp on it a few minutes past this, even to still say about this lockout kit. And we talked about wax rings, and we talked about not waxing, Brian.
Right.
Wax rings, not wedding rings, Brian. Wax rings. We talked about braided stainless steel hoses, right, Gerald? Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of this is that to make sure you have PEX plumbing or red and blue plumbing in your home. So, we kind of reiterate every week about, some of the safety and maintenance inspections, but at this time, a lot of times we take on a little bit of a shout out, fellas. This is our shout out for the day. And Gerald, you had a shout out for somebody today?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Susan. She listens to us every Saturday morning. She has been a faithful customer for Prevent Plumbing for I cannot tell you how many years. And she listens to us every Saturday morning since we started the show. I told her she could do it online too. She says, I don't go online. I've got the radio though. I said, good enough. Just keep listening to us. So Susan, I know you'll be listening this morning. We just want to give a shout out to you and thank you very much for being a loyal customer.
Amen, Susan. You know what? Well, I got to shout out to you if you're listening every week because I got to tell you, I do ask my friends, Brian, hey, get up in the morning at Saturday and get up at 6 o'clock and listen to my show. And then they go, 6 p.m.? And then I go, no, 6 a.m., 6 a.m. And then they all go, oh, wow, Saturday morning? I'm thinking to myself, what are you watching, Scooby-Doo? 6 in the morning?
Well, you know what you got to do Saturday morning at 5:30 a.m. You got to call them all. Say,
Hey, here's your morning wake-up call.
Well,
Is that as I'm coming into the radio show?
for those friends that don't want to get up that early, we do have the shows posted to the Prevent Plumbing website. We also have all the shows posted to Spotify, Breaker, Anchor. There's so many different ones listed that we do have the shows posted on this podcast.
Well, not to say it, American Contracting and Electrical are working on our websites now and getting some of that straightened around, right, Juan?
Yeah.
And that didn't sound... Yeah. We are. I am. We are working on it. I have built my spec home out in Golden Gate Estates. Pictures are going up on the websites. I'm actually getting some people to link in with Prevent Plumbing and American Electrical, but that model home, Brian, the spec home, I've had 15 showings, personal showings on it, and I got to tell you, all I've gotten is reviews of excellence, and people still loving that bathroom tub. That that water faucet. You know.
I would have to say, I've got some feedback, and people calling, the electrical calling us and just asking, where's the house located and, and everything. I think you should just throw the address back out there.
Yeah, if you want to come out and take a look at it in Golden Gate Estates, that's 667 5th Street Northwest. That's 667 5th Street Northwest, Naples, Florida, 34117. We'd love to come out. I mean, Michelle, my assistant, she's there every day. She's smiling a lot more than I am. A lot of times she's more happier than I am, but that's a good thing. But the reality is that if you want to come out and take a look at the spec home, we more than gladly love to have you out there. If you want to email me at ac@theamericantrades.com. That's ac@theamericantrades.com. Or you want to give me a call at 239-719-1789. That's 239-719-1789. Email me, call me, come on out and take a look at the house. I have several other lots. I have Williams Rivas Real Estate, where my wife has a team with Alicia Robin, and we can get you any type of property out in Golden Gate Estates. I am the Golden Gate Estates contractor. We have many 2.5 acres out there that we want to build on. So give us a call. Gerald, I wanted to kind of jump back over to where we were talking about the shout outs. We got a shout out for Susan. Is any more shout outs for you?
No, that was it.
Now, Brian, how about a shout out for Brian?
Yeah, we give a shout out to Brian every week.
Brian,
Thank you.
We love you, Brian.
Where are you?
Brian's right there, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Juan, did you have a shout out today to give a person a shout out?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out. I gave out shout out to seniors before, and I just want to give a shout out to my mom, my stepdad, and stay strong. And we're praying for you. And
Amen.
things will be great. Things will get. Lord will be there. Our Lord
God's
will be
with
there.
you. God's with you. That's right. The most important thing is you keep God in your heart, right?
Yep.
That's most important for all of us. I mean, people don't know me, but I got a tattoo that says what, Gerald?
God bless America.
God bless America. I got
Trump
a
2020.
I got a tattoo that says God bless America, and I say that on a daily basis.
What's the one on the other arm say?
Made in America.
No, not the other tattoo.
Made in America.
No, it says thank God for Gerald. I see it.
That's above his heart.
That's actually on my butt cheek. Come on now. He was reading through my jeans.
I thought you were talking about the WWJD. What would Juan do?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has become a comical show, not really a construction show, but this is the American Trades. This is the American Tradesman Show, right, Gerald?
That's it.
That's with our good buddies, Gerald and Brian and Juan and myself, Anthony. Again, Gerald, I want to jump around. I did have a shout out to all the people out there for the police department and the first responders to keep safe. I mean, I know this is a hectic time. I'm not going to get deep into it, but this is a hectic time. So keep safe for the first responders. But Gerald, I wanted to kind of finish up and touch base a little bit more on the end of trimming out that plumbing jobs and that putting that tub in.
Yeah, so I mean, when you get down to the final stages of any of your remodels, your biggest things are going to be, the fixtures, the trim out of the fixtures, making sure those are right. Slide bars, when you install slide bars, if somebody has a handheld, the key to that is going to be finding out the height of the people in the home. Because, the height of the installer is not what you want to go by, and that's what the installer is going to look at. Well, this looks good to me, but if you got somebody in the house that's 5'4", it's not going to work for them. So
what that means is, Brian, you cannot put up them slide bars being at 6'10".
No.
That's all right, but that's okay.
that's it. And like I said, just making sure that all the fixtures go in, everything is sealed and siliconed. Your toilets are going down on the final. Just making sure everything is looking good. And that's the key to it. Is just the final trim out and making sure that everything is done correctly. And one thing that we definitely do at Privet is triple check. So once you install something, you're going to triple check. If you have a vanity faucet, we're going to triple check to make sure there's no leaks up underneath it. We are going to test to make sure that there's nothing around the drain. We're then going to fill that bowl in that sink, let it sit for a moment to make sure there's no drips, and then do the quick release. And that's what we call the pressure test. And that's going to be crucial, because when you have a sink bowl that's going to be filled up to the overflow, and then you release it. It's going to let you know if there's any kind of leaks, because that's going to be a rush of water that it's not accustomed to.
I'll also say, if you're going to have special finish items, go ahead and check on availability and maybe get them several months if possible before. Well, not just the matte black stuff that we had
you
to wait for
talking
your
about me,
place.
Brian?
No, I've got some sinks right now.
Oh, wait a minute. I've heard a sputter. Go ahead.
I've got some sinks right now. I'm waiting. They have to come from Italy. So,
well.
Oh,
yeah, they got to go through that whole process.
We're not talking about California.
Yeah.
We're talking about Italy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot better place.
Well,
to
the
be
problem
coming.
with some of the other manufacturers, the parts that put it together, they come from China.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's some of your name brand stuff that's sold here in America, but people don't realize, 95% of the parts come from China and other locations.
That's got to change. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's a part that I don't agree with. I mean, I'm sure somewhere in Pennsylvania, somewhere in the Steel City, somewhere we could make these faucets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to God by the end of this year that somebody starts to tax on to some of the stuff that China has did. I mean, I'm not being biased and prejudiced or anything, but we know exactly where this is all coming from, and I will not get too deep into it, but it's time the taxes are put onto some of these countries that, are shipping things in. Buy America, made in America. That's where I am, right, Gerald? Or is that Love Gerald? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Gerald. Finish up what you were talking about.
And like I said, just ensuring that there are no leaks, ensuring that everything has a proper placement, and everything
Grouted.
looks correct, grouted. All, like I said, all your trim on your showers has to be sealed with a silicone. Your toilets are going to be grouted to the floor. All your fixtures are going to have putty. That way you're not going to have any kind of leaks. And just getting it trimmed out. That's the final portions of
And all the shower valves have the final temperature setting.
It's funny that you say that because I've been in homes where the hot water was swapped with the cold water.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's common. I mean, I thought it was something that was abnormal, and then I realized that guys just don't pay attention to what you said a minute ago is a triple check, right?
Well,
That's
a
good
lot of
statement.
times if we get there before the electrician and we trim it, you know what I'm saying? And then, electrician comes in and gets it powered up later, we pretty...
You don't know what hot water is hot water. It was funny that you said to me on the inspection of the final that we got to make sure you got hot water. So that makes sense that, you need to make sure you check the hot water valves. And not to say it, but I'm sure there is some guys out there that put red with the blue and the blue with the red, right?
Oh, yeah.
Unless they're colorblind.
That's why 95% of the valves that are in the wall, you can actually change them and flip it upside down to where the hot's on the correct side and cold's on the correct side.
Really?
Because it was such a big issue back in the day.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it was common, though. It's common now. I mean, I thought it was really not common.
You would think with the red and the blue it'd be pretty simple, but no.
Yeah, I guess.
still
I
encounter-
can't tell you how many condos and things that I go into, and they've had the original faucet from the 70s and the 80s. We replace it out, and we'll get a call back saying the lines are crossed, and we're like, what? And you go and you look under there, the lines are not crossed on the outside of the wall, they're crossed on the inside of the wall. So your only option then is just to basically pull the supply lines off and swap stops on there, because they've been crossed for 25 years and nobody even knew it.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen that with AC lines, not to say it, but line sets in condos where they've swapped line sets, bottom floor, top floor, where they run the line sets and realized compressor was on one floor, the air handler was on the other.
Well, I've seen that with electrical where
Remember?
they get the power from one floor and power up the down floor. The first floor is AC.
I've been in situations where they end up with lawsuits with that whole problem, where
Yeah.
they ended up having to say what was the electric bill versus them not being there for 8 months and the people upstairs were there every day. And the guy was like, hey, I am only here twice, maybe 3 times a year, versus the people I've been paying the electric bill for the last 20 years, and end up in a lawsuit because it's so. It's important to have the inspections, the maintenance, all the stuff that we talk about from Prevent Plumbing, because they are, the professionals that understand how you need to be done with and dealt with. Right, Brian? Yeah. So don't fret.
Call Prevent.
What's the phone number over there, Brian?
239-596-5533.
And Gerald, what's the phone number of B&K?
239-398-9834.
Any water extractions, any mold services that you need out there, give them a call. Gerald and them, all of us out here will give you free, in-home estimates, correct? And not to say it, if you need somebody to come out just to say hi to you, Brian's the man.
I mean, we give free advice too. We're not going to steer you in a wrong direction, even if it means we don't get a service out of that. We're still going to give you the truthful, honest advice.
You know, I bounce back and forth a lot of times talking to each one of you guys, and it's a round table that we talk about. I mean, we all want to kind of get opinions on some of the things that you do in plumbing and some of the things you do in electrical. I mean, we all understand the mechanical trades. We've been in it long enough, right, Brian, to know that the trades is a part of a hard fit to understand if you're out there as, a customer trying to figure out what plumber to call and what electrician to call and what HVAC and what contractor. And we are on here to talk about our companies, and sometimes we bring other companies involved. And if you are a small company and want to be on the radio with us, well, I say come on out and get on the radio with us. It's important, right?
Oh, yeah.
And not to say it, if you want to email me at ac@theamericantrades.com. That's ac@theamericantrades.com. I am Anthony from American Contracting. Juan, I wanted to touch base one more time before we get off the air. It's lockout, ladies and gentlemen. It's lockout time. So, Juan, one more time, tell these people about that lockout, and maybe we should run a deal, Brian. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hands are up. Hands are up.
Is that Jesus?
Maybe throw a small little window shaker.
Oh,
All right.
Generator.
So I got a deal for you. Now I was just thinking about this because I knew Anthony was going to do this to me. I knew he was going to do it. So
Alex is looking on real hard.
I came prepared.
Okay.
All right. So right now we have to think about the lightning that's out there. We have hurricane season going on. You know, we need interlock kits, we need generator, we need backup power, but we also need to protect our electronics. So if you give us a call, and you want to do a generator interlock kit, we are going to throw in a surge protector for $175. That's normally a $200 install, and I'm going to do it for $175 at the same time for the generator interlock kit.
So we're giving them a break, right, Juan?
Yep.
And that's not a good break for me, right, Brian? It should be better.
Yeah.
Gerald, before we close up the show, Alex, I'm going to give it to you, Alex. He's giving a $25 discount on the surge protector, and he's giving $45 off on the lockout kit. I don't know what that all totals to, but Alex, are you good with that?
I'll take it for 100.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you 10% off if you take that sign on from me. So if Anthony, you want a lockout kit and you want that surge protector, give Juan a call over at American Electrical, Juan.
So we'll honor that. So it's if you do separately, we're gonna do $500 for the interlock kit, $175. If we do them together, we're gonna do a radio promotion, 10% off of that $675.
You cannot beat that. 10% off, $675. Save yourself $67.50. What's the phone number over there, Juan?
239-353-4389.
239-353-4389. The kind of service
that built America.
Don't fret.
Call Prevent.
That's right. B&K, I want to say God bless you guys. Love you guys, right? That's all I can say to you today. God bless America.